Hey Clayton, I have a question about self-directed IRAs. If I own my properties in a self-directed IRA, how can I use that cash flow money from the rental income outside of the IRA to live financially free before retirement age? Thanks.
Well, unfortunately, you can't. Thank you, Justin, for that question. So, cash flow from the rental property in a self directed IRA is going to stay inside of that self directed IRA. So, this is something to consider when you want to invest in real estate. Do you need that cash flow now, or will you wait when you're retired where that cash flow has grown or that cash flow has grown tax free? So, it's important to understand a self directed IRA. It's a fantastic wealth building vehicle, but you can't touch it, okay, until retirement age. So that property lives inside of the self-directed IRA bucket, and so does the cash flow from the tenant. So every month that cash flow stays in that self-directed IRA growing tax-free. So you're not able to use that cash flow now. You have to wait till retirement. Now, of course, you can take a penalty and take that money out if you need to. Speak with your own accountants about that process if you needed to do something like that, to take some sort of a hardship penalty and remove that. But you're going to pay taxes on that if you have to remove that early. So again, I wouldn't suggest it. It is one thing though to look at though, if you need this cash flow now. This comes back to the 3 stages of real estate investing, right? Buy, own, and cash flow. Remember, we have full videos here on the channel about the 3 stages of real estate investing. But at the first stage, if you're young, you're in your 30s or 40s or even 50s, and you're getting into real estate investing, the first stage is you're going to buy those properties. So like Justin's question is, he's going to buy it inside of a self-directed IRA. In many ways, he's almost going to pretend like he doesn't even have that asset. It's going to grow tax-free for him as part of his retirement portfolio. And all of that cash flow is there in that vehicle, protected, growing. Now, hopefully, maybe he has a job. He has other things that are bringing income in for his family. So, you're not going to be able to live off of that property at the moment, right? It's increasing your net worth, but you can borrow against it. That's one way to do it. And we'll get to that in a second. But mostly, you're going to be keeping that property in there. You're not going to touch it, and the cash flow from that tenant you will not be able to touch. That's the buying phase. Okay, then we own it. Once that tenant has paid off that property, there's no mortgage anymore. Now I own it. Okay, and then the third stage is now it's cash flowing for me. And so you can do that any way you want. One of the ways is to not buy it in a self-directed IRA. You buy it, pretend like you don't even own it. The cash flow from that tenant is coming in. It's paying off the mortgage. And then now you own it, and then eventually it cash flows. Buy, own, and cash flow. When you're starting out, most people are so focused on the cash flow piece of this that they kind of put the cart before the horse. I think that really we should be focusing on acquiring as many assets as we can. Pretend like maybe we don't even have them. I know it might be kind of difficult. It's almost like when you get a raise. Almost pretend like you didn't get the raise. Because what our lives do is our lives tend to expand to meet this extra money that we now have. We end up wasting it on meals out and other things. So that raise that we got in many ways disappears. But what if you pretended like you didn't get that raise? And that's kind of the way I look at real estate investing in the early stages. Buying those properties, great. Now you've added to my net worth. I'm going to pretend like I don't have them. The tenant is building up the equity, paying down the mortgages on those rental properties. And then the third stage is now the cash flow is there. And holy smokes, wait a minute. I have $10, $12, $13,000 a month in cash flow from all of these properties that I kind of forgot about. Boom. And then you want to acquire more properties so you're not paying income tax on that cash flow. So things to consider. But then the same thing is true with the self-directed IRA, right? I'm buying it in this vehicle, this tax-free vehicle. The property is increasing in value. The equity is increasing. The tenant is paying it down. That cash flow is growing tax-free. And then when I'm at retirement age, I can take it out tax-free. So buy, own, and cash flow. Now, if you need that money now, I would think about, well, maybe I don't need to be putting it inside of a self-directed IRA at this tax vehicle, right? Maybe I just buy it outside of that. I want to quit my job. I want to live off of the cash flow today. Then I would definitely consider not putting it in a self-directed IRA. But if you did put it in a self-directed IRA, there's also loans that you could take out against that property. Think about how wealthy people do this, right? The reason wealthy people are able to buy all sorts of different assets is because they're taking out loans on the things that are already, they've already got a home, they've already got a yacht, they've already got other things. So what if you took out a loan against your self-directed account? that you needed if you wanted that cash flow. So you don't touch the property, you don't touch the cash flow, but you get maybe a personal or a hard money loan against your assets that are in the self-directed account. That is something that's a high-level ninja move, but absolutely something you could do to take advantage of those assets today without affecting the self-directed IRA property, without getting the penalties and all of that. Borrow against it and keep it inside of the self-directed IRA. That's what I would do if I needed that money like immediately. So thanks for that question, Justin. We have a great website. If you go to morrisinvest.com, MORRIS, we have tons of great blog posts and resources there for you to become a more intelligent real estate investor. I would encourage you to go there, read them. But also there's a microphone button where you can leave us a 30-second voicemail question here. We'll play it here on the show and hopefully give you some great answers on your journey to becoming a more intelligent real estate investor. Now go out there, take action, and become a real estate investor. I believe it's the number one way to build wealth. Certainly look around in this economy right now. Holy smokes. I don't want to be tied to Wall Street, that's for sure. We'll see you next time, everyone.